Welcome to Tuesday, the 19th day of August, 2025. The Stay Weather podcast brought to you by the Advocates Injury Attorneys. If you've been injured in an accident, don't face it alone. Get an experienced local Wyoming attorney on your side. Free consultations at wyomingadvocates.com or call 307-800-1952. You deserve an advocate. Well, we're going to be looking at drier air pushing in, getting a little bit deeper, less in the way of thunderstorm activity for some of you. Now, we're still going to see thunderstorms down into Arizona, down into New Mexico, then out into the plains, and a few more thunderstorms on the high plains just east of the Front Range. But drier air is going to be found elsewhere, along with plenty of August heat, as high pressure is going to set up near the Four Corners area and stick around there through the weekend. And as we have been showing you, the clockwise rotation around the high, it's going to be a long path, a long journey, but moisture will be brought in from the plains westward around the high, and then it's going to get consolidated. The moisture will be along and west of the divide and into the Great Basin, which is something we haven't seen before. And one reason for this, it's an interesting setup developing. There's actually a cold front that's going to be dropping out of central and western Canada into the northern Rockies and northern plains, kind of pushing in on Friday, but certainly over the weekend. And what this will do is, along and east of the divide, temperatures are going to cool off below seasonal averages. And this front will kind of consolidate the moisture and kind of keep it locked up in the western slope areas and the Great Basin. Again, this is something that has not happened this summer. It's going to kind of concentrate that moisture there for several days, giving us multiple days where at least some thunderstorms and chances of rain-producing thunderstorms will go into some areas that really need it. So we'll keep our fingers and toes crossed. We still see that moisture there. As we take a look at some great photos that have come in over the last 24 hours, a nice shot there of some fair weather clouds near Glendo, beautiful sunset at Lake McConaughey. And yeah, what's going on there in South Dakota? As Daniel puts there, it's a good comment in terms of what's going on there. And a great shot in western New Mexico. Unfortunately, those clouds not producing any rain. And then we did see quite a bit of thunderstorm activity out on the plains of eastern Colorado, eastern Wyoming, western Nebraska during the afternoon and evening hours of yesterday, the tail end of the weekend monsoonal moisture plume. And that plume just gets thinner and thinner, but it did produce some nocturnal thunderstorms Sunday night into Monday morning, as evidenced by an early morning thunderstorm yesterday. That shot taken from Cheyenne looking south into Weld County, Colorado. Some Amatis down in the Colorado Springs area, and up in the Red Canyon Fire area. You can see a smoke bow right here at the Red Canyon Fire as we see the smoke and that fire still burning. And unfortunately, no precipitation, at least here over the next 72 hours in that neighborhood. Maybe over the weekend, early next week, there'll be some chances. Nice shot of some butterfly action up in Story, Wyoming. Beautiful shots of butterflies and bees and flowers as we're heading into the mature part of summer for sure. Here's your dry desert air punching in, coming into these areas, and then here's your consolidation of subtropical moisture down here. So there's going to be some thunderstorms down in parts of New Mexico and Arizona. Then around the ring, there's going to be enough moisture for a little bit of shower and thunderstorm activity later today, as evidenced by where the thunderstorms are going to be here late this afternoon and evening. So you can see it's concentrated out into the plains, a little bit of activity along the Front Range today, but it won't be as extensive as yesterday or the last weekend. This drier air going to come in and really dominate today, and tomorrow we really don't have a lot of thunderstorm activity. We kind of get a bifurcation of the dry air getting a little bit further east, keeping the subtropical moisture down here, and this moisture up here associated with that frontal system that's approaching in from the northwest. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Then as we get into Thursday, thunderstorm activity starts to get a little bit more common in the northern areas, mainly because of that frontal boundary is approaching, but we're also seeing, notice, a little bit more moisture getting a little bit further northward into Arizona, southern Utah here, into parts of the Great Basin. So Thursday is a day where thunderstorm activity starts to pick up again in the northern areas, and we start to see the movement. We start to see things moving a little bit more. So today and tomorrow, nothing too exciting. As we get into Thursday and Friday, things get a little bit more interesting. Now this is the 500 millibar chart for Saturday, the 23rd. There's your four corners high. The moisture going, the circulation of air coming around it brings that moisture and brings it back on in. Like I said, it's a long ride. This trough of low pressure here in south central Canada, notice the winds aloft are coming in from the northwest. At the surface, those northwest winds aloft will push in a cool front that's going to drape along and east of the Continental Divide as we get into as early as Friday, lasting through the weekend. And as you'll see here in a moment, a lot of the nation east of the Rockies is going to really cool off next week. So the last week of August for the central and eastern part of the nation is going to be cooler than average, as you'll see here in a moment. That cool front comes down along and east of the Divide on Friday. So notice the contrast. There's the coolness along and east of the Divide right here as the cool air comes in and we get a little bit of upslope. But warmth will continue here west of the Divide from California, the Pacific Northwest through the Great Basin. What this will do is this cool air and this upslope with the high here drawing that moisture in, this front is kind of acting like sort of like a dam, so to speak, to consolidate things. And watch the cool air overspread on Saturday. Then on Sunday, temperatures will be well below average from the northern plains to the front range of Colorado and Wyoming and eastern Montana. And this coolness that you're seeing here west of the Divide is going to be because of clouds and shower and thunderstorm activity. And temperatures by Monday get even cooler. Look at the cool down occurring over a lot of the country next week. So August goes out on a cool note relative to the 30-year average for a lot of the lower 48. This heat up here in Canada is because of a big trough up in the Gulf of Alaska pushing warmer air in. That is something that we'll talk about later as we get to the end of the month. If you look at the 5-day period of temperatures, actually the 7-day period of temperatures from this Saturday to Saturday the 30th, you can see the cool down coming for a lot of the nation. So what does that mean? Well, if we put this together with the moisture, we start this loop from this upcoming Friday to the next Friday. So this goes over a week. What I want you to notice is the coloring here in the Great Basin and along and west of the Divide throughout basically beginning Friday and going through all of next week. You can see it kind of gets bottled up here. It doesn't really have anywhere to go. And if you notice the brown, that's the cold front. That brown, that is the cooler, drier air heading into the nation's midsection. That's going to really bring actually some really pleasant weather to a lot of the nation's midsection and Great Lakes next week with the drier air and lower humidities. But what we see here is the moisture is trapped underneath the high. It's got nowhere to go. You add daytime heating to that, and you're going to get shower and thunderstorm activity that will cycle on through. So let's start on Friday. So Friday, we've got upslope along and east of the Divide with that cold front. We've got the subtropical moisture coming back in, and shower and thunderstorm activity on Friday gets going in western Colorado, Utah here, and parts of the Southwest and into the Sierra, California. Now we'll have to watch that because that may end up being fire starters. They have got some chances of rain, but that'll be something we'll need to watch. That's Friday. Then as we go into Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday, notice where the showers and thunderstorms are. Okay, they're actually west of the Divide. This is completely different than what we have seen all summer. Because all summer I've been showing you graphics where all of the action's been out here. So this is a different situation. Upslope and cool air along and east of the Divide, moist air trapped here under the high west of the Divide. So we're hoping that places like the Uinta Basin, the Wasatch, the western slope of Colorado, the Four Corners area, look at Arizona here, and even back into California. As we get into the weekend and early next week, this is Tuesday, you're going to see some shower and thunderstorm activity on a daily basis. So fingers crossed, better late than never into those areas. Now, I'm going to show you the same graphics I showed you yesterday. The European deterministic model, which is the one I show you lots of times, which isn't great at thunderstorms, is still showing this tendency for especially this east-west axis right here to have some really good opportunities over multiple days for rain-producing showers and thunderstorms. And the AI tools are even more robust. Notice there's kind of an east-west axis because that's the shape of the moisture that gets consolidated underneath that high pressure ridge. And notice Montana here is drier because of that cold frontal boundary north and east of that. This is over 15 days. So this goes all the way actually to September 3rd. So this is over a 2-week period essentially. And the AI ensemble tool is again showing that moisture and getting areas along and west of the divide. So we'll just see. We'll just kind of take this one day at a time, but that pattern is still showing up. And I do think it's going to be aided by that cold front coming along and east of the divide. I think the question is, where will this east-west axis be? Will it be more north, more south, somewhere in between? Because this far out, that east-west axis of heavier moisture could shift around a little bit. We'll just have to keep an eye on things. And longer term, right at the end of August and early September, we're going to have a cold front. Just going to be a matter of where it comes in and when it comes in. It looks like it comes in after Labor Day weekend, but with this ridge building in the East Pacific and this trough coming in from the Alaska area, British Columbia, this type of frontal system is going to come in sometime in early September, bringing us a taste of fall. We'll just keep an eye and monitor that once we get through this next 5 to 10 day period. Have a great Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow.